the TCS admin training for Canvas. And when your users log into Canvas, this is what you'll see. This is what we call our dashboard. Every user, whether you're an admin, a teacher, or a student, when you log into Canvas, you see this exact screen. It's the same for every user. To your admin settings, you actually go through the courses. You click down to where it says courses, and then over to the right, you'll see managed accounts. So if you do have administrator rights, you'll see this managed accounts. I'm logging into our generic add-in, so it's called mycanvas.instructure.com. So I'm on this to get into my admin settings. When you get into your admin settings, this is the screen you'll see. On the left-hand side, and this goes for courses or your personal settings and groups, on the left-hand side, you'll see your navigation. This is how you move around, whichever, if you're in a course, your admin settings, or as a student or group. You'll see the thing on the left-hand side. Then in the middle is basically your to-do area, what you're working on, and the right-hand side is usually your to-do area. So you know what you have to do. It's a way to find things, filter things, edit things. So this is the basic setup as you go through Canvas. So I have three different sites in Canvas environments. You have your test environment, which is exact replica of your production environment, which your production environment is what you use all the time. That's what your students will go into. The production environment is your Canvas environment. The test, which is a replica of that, where you can go in and you can actually test everything out. You can submit, you can do SIS imports, you can add sub-accounts, you can add courses without it affecting your production environment. So it's a way to practice and get familiar with Canvas without messing anything up or having to worry about what's going on in Canvas. So to get to your test environment, my site is called mycanvas.instructure.com. So you go in here and you would just type in test.instructure.com, and this will take you to your test environment. You have your beta environment, which is another replica, a replica of your production environment. You can go in and test new features that are coming out in Canvas. So it's a way to practice and see what's happening, because in Canvas we don't have version 1, version 2, version 3. Instead, we don't have various versions of Canvas. Instead, we have update every 3 weeks. So we fix bugs, add features every 3 weeks. So you can go in ahead of time and find out what's done, and you go and test it out. So I go to help.instructure.com. I'll just show you a little bit about what it means. You'll see the release notes in the middle tab. You can go into the beta release notes. We just had one release on the 3rd for release notes, that is, for beta. So at this time, you can go into your beta site in Canvas and test out this quiz reader feature, the new conversation features that we have. Go into your beta site now and test out these features. So they'll let you know what's coming out. Production upgrade is this weekend. So once the production is upgraded, you'll see the last one that we had was on August 3rd. And that's the wrong one, sorry. Here's the production, it was August 24th. So this will show you, there's usually a video right here. I don't know why it's not showing up here, but there's a video here that you can go and see the full screencast. So if you're a visual person, you'll be able to watch a 3-minute video about the new features that came out. In the last one, we had a new for our admin tool. We had a lot of reports for admins that were added, as well as the self-registration feature. Speed grader for groups view. So we had all of these features that were added in the last release. So this is what's added to your production site, and again, the beta site is where you can test out the new features that are coming out in the next release. And to get to your beta site, you would do it the same as you did with the test site, but you type in beta.instructure.com after your name, so that way this will pull up the beta site. The production site is continual, but your test site resets every 3 weeks to go out with those release updates it has, and your beta site, because they're continually working on them, that resets every week on a Sunday. So if you go into either your test or your beta site, don't put things in there that you want to keep because they're going to reset. So that's just purely for practice to test things out, to see how to do things in Canvas. So for your practice. Questions on the beta or the test or your production site? Okay, I'm going to go into the very bottom in the left navigation to the settings. So I'm going into the admin settings. And we have tabs here. The first tab, settings, and just check to make sure it's accurate. The time zone, I believe you have already changed to Central Time Zone. So you just want to make sure that stuff is accurate. You can allow for self-enrollment. Never for manually created courses or any courses. That would just allow students to be able to get the link and be able to enroll themselves into a course. Few are something that you have available. If you want to keep all of your naming strategies through your SIS or just at the admin level, you could check this box so that teachers are not allowed to rename their courses, so that you have control over the naming conventions of all of your courses. It's an option to have. The next option is that students can opt into receiving scores in an email notification. Basically what this does is this allows your students will be able to see. I'm going to go into my own personal navigation. So I'm on a different account here. I clicked on my name. You'll see if I go to my settings, I can also click on the settings in the upper right, so your name and settings takes you to the same place. But I go into my notifications, and you'll see towards the middle, it says grading. The students will be able to get a message, however they want to have it sent to them, saying assignment 1 was graded. You're giving them this option to say assignment 1 was graded and you got an A on it, or a B, or whatever it may be. And leave this for an option because you can set I have a cell phone number, Facebook, Twitter. I could have like a Yahoo account email address that I'm having notifications sent to. In some schools, just for privacy issues, do not want grades being sent out to email addresses or other forms that are through the school. So that's an option for you. If I done a bit more, you'll see that there's the quiz IT fill address. Okay, that could be what does a Facebook notification look like. When they go into their Facebook account, I actually haven't tried that yet. If they go into their Facebook account, they do have an app, and I believe it just comes through their messaging system in Facebook. So we'll test that out for you and let you know for sure. Up on their wall or anything like that. It would have to go through either their messaging or through the app on Facebook. Okay. IP filter address. This would require your, or this would allow your teachers when they're creating a quiz, you have some sort of, I know you guys are all over the place, but it has some kind of testing center or something where you have specific computers that you want your students to take exams on. You could put that in here. You just name the testing center and what the filter IP addresses are. That way you have to go to that testing center to take the quiz. This can be at the account level, sub-account level, or course level. By creating at the account level, you're just making that convenience for teachers. They have to use them, but then when creating the quiz, they could click on it and say, oh, I want to do it in this testing center. You have 5 different testing centers, or they would have a selection of which testing center they wanted to require their students to take to that. So that would allow that to take place. the features that are available in Canvas. So the self-registration would allow your users to be able to register in the course on their own. The open registration would allow users from outside, well, this goes outside, but the open registration, you could just add their email so they don't have to be in your system to be invited to the course. The registration, you could send people outside a URL and they could be able to enroll in the course. So it's just a couple of types of registrations to allow outside users into a course or into your SIS. Is users can edit their display name. I go again to my personal notifications here, into my settings, and you'll see that you have your display name here. And over on the right-hand side, I can click Edit Settings, and I can change my display name. You're allowing your users to change their display name. So you have some professors or instructors who want to go by Mr. or Mrs. or Dr. So would be able to go in here and change that. You might have some students that, like for example, if someone's name is Peggy, or Margaret, but she goes by Peggy, you would be able to, she would be able to go in here and change her name from Margaret to Peggy. However, if you're allowing your users to change their display name, they could also change it to crazy names like Batman or Wolverine or something like that. So you just have to be aware. You guys probably have sophisticated students taking your courses, so you probably don't need to worry about that as much. But you would have that option here if you want to allow your users to edit their display name. Also allow users to delete their institution assigned email address. So again, in my own personal settings, on the right-hand side, it has ways to contact. The star indicates this is an institution assigned email address. And I can add a lot of different email addresses here. So I could put an email address here, my text, cell phone number. So you just also allow them to delete the email that you brought in through the SIS. If you do bring in emails to SIS, you're allowing them to delete those. If you have a Quella and Turnitin, you can turn these on at the, or you're supposed to turn them on at the account level. You can also turn them on at the sub-account level. So if you have just one of your divisions that use Turnitin, you can turn it on. Depending on sub-accounts, you can have it turned on various levels. This is a great way to see the statistics of what's going on, so I recommend keeping that one on. Avatars is the picture. So users would be able to edit and add a picture. They can do that through the settings here. If you turn on the profile, which is also in that features area, if you don't see it, let me know, and I can have it turned on if you would like to. The profile is just basically kind of like a Facebook page, I guess you could say. It gives you ways that you want to be contacted, any kind of bio information that your users have. This is for teachers and students as well. And any kind of links, so they could add links that they have and information and things that they have. They can also add. So this is a way for your students to tell each other about themselves as well as your teachers. So this is something that you can turn at the account level as well, and it will show up in the features. An avatar picture is just where they can add, all your users can add a picture. And one of the most common questions that we keep track of, we keep track of which ones are the most popular, and how do I add my profile picture is usually in the top 10 every single week. So people really especially students, really like to have their picture in Canvas. Next is the global JavaScript and CSS. Basically what this does, if you create any JavaScript or CSS, you can add the URLs here. So if you want to brand your site, so you'll notice at the top it's just gray with the Canvas logo. You can put your own logo, your own coloring schemes to match your website. So you can design the look and feel somewhat like your website page, and you would do that through CSS and JavaScript. You can do some other editing there as well. And your implementation manager, Kevin, can help you with this stuff when you get to that point as well. You can also allow sub-accounts to do that. So if you do have the different department schools that you can have them also create look and feel to meet that, each division's area. Okay, the question, if there's more than one admin, then any of those admin can change these settings. Yes, that is correct. Any admin can change those when they have those privileges. And then the other one was, and that information can be displayed in the courses that are teaching. Yes, and all the admins have access to every course Canvas. Okay, and if we add our own bio as an instructor, do we have to resubmit the bio for each class, or is there a way for our IO to be transferred? Actually, your bio is always there, no matter what class. It's connected to your personal. In the upper right-hand corner here, this is your personal settings. So you are the only one who, of course, the admins have to things, but your teachers or your students will not ever be able to edit this in the upper right. This is only for the individuals. You'll not be able to manage your students' information up here as well. So you have your own navigation on the left-hand side here. So you have your own profile, only you manage this, as well as your notifications. You can upload files, personal files, e-portfolio as well, and all of your settings. So this is just for you, and it's global. So you only have to do it up here, and it's always there no matter what classes that you're in. Okay, the question was, is the features list static? Can we add features like smart thinking? You can, it doesn't go in the feature section, but you can add smart thinking to your account. I'm not familiar with smart thinking, but I did have an account, and they put smart thinking in their navigation on the left-hand side, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to the app. That was in the left navigation for every single course. They had the smart thinking link over there. I'll show you how to do that. Next, you'll see that you have custom links. And so if I'll go back into my area, and on the upper right-hand corner where it says Help, when you click on Help, the default settings for our help. Ask Your Instructor question is only available for students. So students will see this, and they would just click on it, and there's a drop-down of their courses that they're taking. I mean, I have a million here, but there'll be a drop-down of the courses that they are taking, and they can send a message to whichever course, and it would go to all the teachers and instructors for that particular course. Usually there's only one. If there's multiple teachers, it would go to every teacher. So search the Canvas guides. So we'll take them out to our Canvas guides, which are very useful, quick ways to go through and learn Canvas. We have Get Started guides, Canvas guides for students, observers, instructors, designers, and admins. We have our mobile guides. Mobile phone has both Android and iPhones. We don't have any connection with Microsoft phones yet. Video tutorials. So these are quick videos, like usually about 2 or 3 minutes long, explaining how to do things in Canvas. Up there will take you to the guides. I'll have report a problem. Either on Tier 1, so this will go directly to us. I always recommend that students and teachers, when anyone's reporting a problem, that they do it through Canvas, through that help. There's a lot of information that's really useful for tech support to figure out what the problem is. They can type in the subject of what's going on, a good description. They can also put screenshots in here and how it's affecting them. Just a casual question up to an extreme medical emergency, and then they would submit the ticket, and again, this would just go to our tech support. Okay, so what is the typical turnaround for questions submitted to Canvas? I believe it's, for Tier 1, I believe it's 8 hours. You'll also have a phone number that you can call 24/7. So you guys have the top level support. So it's the LTI App Center. There's a question about smart thinking in our App Store, and I do believe it's in there. And then, is there a way to restrict contact info is viewable by different roles? Personal, I share personal contact method for colleagues, but not for students. If you put it in your profile, whoever sees your profile can see that, and you can't. I don't believe there is a way to have it so it's defined by the term, but methods that you put in notifications only you manage in your settings. So it's just a profile that's visible to others. You would decide which ones you want, and I don't believe there's a way to make that so it's specific to who's viewing your profile, but I'll double check on that one as well. Okay. Next is Ask the Community. This is only available for admins and teachers. Students won't this. This will take you out to that help that I showed earlier with the release notes and guides. So you can ask like how other people are using Canvas and get some ideas on how to do things, best practices, things like that. You can reach out to others in the community. And that's the feature. This is where you can go in. Canvas is still a relatively new product, and we have everything yet. So if there's something you really, really wish that Canvas would have, you could go in here. It's divided up by topics. You can search to see what's going on. And then you can, when you find it, you can click on the topic, and you can like it. So as like this one, for example, has 289 people that like this, and you can see in the upper right that it's planned. And you can see that people chime in from all over the U.S. What they think about the product. You'll also notice Brian Whitmer, one of our co-founders, he's always chiming in here as well. So this is a great way to make your voice heard about what you want to have in Canvas. If you're and you can't find it, you can start a new discussion. So it's available for all users, students, and teachers and admins. Those are the 5 that we have by default, and you can create additional. So if you have, like you could put your school website, you could put, if you have a help desk, or something that you feel would be helpful to have in that upper right-hand corner, help corner, you can add, you would just put in what you want to show, and then the URL. Obviously, this is not the help desk URL, but just for an example, make it available to all your users. So you can see all users. You can have it just for students, so there might be some things that only students would view. For teachers, maybe there's some help reference material that you want all of your teachers to have access to. It's a URL, of course, or admins. So you can specify the type of user that you want to see that information. And you can add as many help links as that you want here as well, and you can delete them as well. If you can delete one of those that are already in the help, you can do that through JavaScript, and that's something Kevin can help you with too if you decide you want to remove any of those. Next, these are the enabled web services that we have in Canvas. And if I go into my own personal settings here, so again, you can get to them settings on the right or name. And scroll down, every user has these web services that they can register. They are third-party applications, so you already have to have an account in these to register. So you can't just register and create a Facebook account through Canvas. You already have to have the Facebook account to link it. So it's just a convenience between the services your users are already using and Canvas. Google Docs is a good one to keep there because, you know, most people, or not most, but a lot of schools use Google Docs to collaborate. And just click on, so like for LinkedIn, I would just register my LinkedIn account here if I wanted to. So I register these four on the left and still register these. It's an integration between services your users are already using. If you want to not have one of these available, you can remove them from the account settings. Then your students won't even have the option to register it. So you decide which services you want available for your students to register, or teachers. And lastly, who can create a new course? You as admins can always create new courses, but if you want to allow teachers, users with no enrollments, or students, you can also let others create courses in Canvas. If you have any changes here, be sure to update settings. Anytime you see a big blue box like this button, that means an action needs to take place, whether to update, save, publish. So you want to make sure that you update and save your settings if you make any changes. Scroll in my keeping dizzy. Next, the quotas. Storage that you have per course, per year, or per group. This is that average of what we set up. This is the default settings, but you can know that some users will use more, some will use less. You can just keep them, and most people keep them at the default, and they update them at an individual basis if they need to. You can increase it here, and then knowing that some people would use more and less. So it's up to you how you want to handle it here as well. Then next is the email notification. So remember I told you about how students can get a notification if a grade, if something was assignment was graded. They get that notification, it will come in as instructor canvas at notifications@instructure.com. This might be confusing for some users. They might not really know what Instructure Canvas is. So you can just make your custom name down here below. This up. And so I'll just type in TCS here, and now it will say it's from TCS notifications.instructure.com. So it still has the notifications@Instructure, but they'll see the name first and know it's not spam. So this is a great place to let your users just kind of eliminate any kind of confusion here as well. So we do have where you can have this display on time pop-up warning on your notifications. So just let students know that are going to use those external services like Facebook. Some confidential material might come through to their Facebook. So this is just a notification that will pop up and remind them of that. And when you're done, again, update settings if you want to make any changes or make any changes. Okay, the tab is the Admins tab. So by default, you only have, like in this first example, all of these are account admins. Account admins have the right to do everything in Canvas. You can also create various roles in Canvas, and you would do that by going over to the left navigation and click on Permissions. And so click on the Account Roles, the second tab, and you can see this first one is the Account Admins. That is what you have by default. And if I scroll down, you'll may have all green checks. So Account Admins can do everything in Canvas. So you could create users with additional roles that have some of the account admin permissions, but all of them. So you could have chair people, you could have program managers, you could have someone who's just handling outcomes, you tech support. So you have various roles here that you can create. And so things are like manage account level settings. That's somebody that. So you could go in and create a role and have people so they're not able to manage those account level settings. So keep it on the X. However, you might want those same people to be able to make a global announcement So you could enable that permission. So you go through here and decide or read SIS data. You just click on it and enable it. There are some things that you can't change, so you'll get this pop-up that says you do not have permission to change this. But most of them will have the box where you can go in and modify and let people know what roles they are. You can create these at the account level or the sub-account level. If you create them at the account level, they will show up at all the sub-accounts, and then you can add the people to those particular roles. We also have roles. The question was, can you name or add custom roles? Yes, you can't name the account admin, but all of these others you can create and add. You can't rename them. You would just add a new one, and you can delete. So I could go ahead and delete the teacher and role here. So you can delete roles if you want to. Question was, who are the account admins? Account admin is usually whoever is in charge of the LSM, your LMS administrator, usually the account admin, and then people usually create like roles for chair people, managers and things like that have permissions at the account level, but not permissions to do everything. So it depends on the institution on how you want to set up your account roles. There's not a limit on the amount of roles that you can create. And you can also create them at the sub-account level. So even if they're not, so have like different locations and things, you could have those each have their own roles. So you'll still see what you've created at this level, and we'll go over sub-accounts in a little bit more detail. You have them at various levels as well. Your roles, these are roles that are specifically related to the courses. So by default, you have student, TA, teacher, designer, and observer. A designer would be someone who doesn't deal with the students at all. They just design the course. The observer would be somebody who is just overseeing the course. So it could be someone who's just overseeing the course in general, or they could be linked to a student, like it's a mentor or a counselor or something where they need to see for some reason what's going on with a particular student. So these roles by default, again, blue button, you can add a role. So if there's another role, if you have printers, speakers or something that come in and you want to give them some access to the course, you can create a role for that as well. And the same thing, if you hover over and there's not like a little box around it, you'll get the message that you don't have permission to change this. For example, students will never be able to add or remove teachers, course designers, or TAs, or students, or change the course date. So they're not able to do a lot of related to creating the courses. So I recommend going through these to make sure they're set up that the way that you want the roles to be set up at your account. So when you create your roles, I can go back to my settings, bottom, and my admin tab, and this will be the same whether it's an account level or sub-account level. Add an account admin. You'll see I have a drop-down of all of those roles that I created. So again, the account admin are like, they can do everything in Canvas. Then you can create people with various roles as well. So you would just select what you want that role to be and paste in the person's email address, and sometimes it'll ask for SIS ID, it's depending on how you have it set up. But you would just type in that information and hit continue, and that person will have those permissions at this account level or sub-account level. That is how you add somebody to an account admin. Questions on the account admin? Any other questions on the admins or the permissions? Okay, announcements. We recommend this be used sparingly. This will appear on the user's dashboard when they log into Canvas. So this will go out to every single user in your account. And so you would just fill in the information subject. You can have it specific dates that you want this to come out, and you have some warning icons if you want to use these. And you just fill in the information and add the announcements. We recommend to use these sparingly so that when people see these on the dashboard, they know they're important and they need to pay attention to them. Okay, this is the reporting tab. So a long list of reports that you can configure. If you want to see the grades for your students, we have the grade export report. So this will come out in all of these will come out in the CSV file, and then you can import them into Excel or something and really manipulate the data. But give you student information, course information, the term information, and then what the student score is. Gather that information per user. We configure this by terms. You can either have it for all of your terms, or you can be specific to which term you want that information. The question was, can you have global announcements that go out to one college within the system and not others? No, it's a global setting, so it goes out to everyone. Okay. Next report to be aware of is the outcome report. If you created any outcomes at the account level, you can run a report, and we'll go over outcomes a little bit later. For example, in the very center here, it tells you what the learning outcome is. It can write basic Ruby. Again, we'll gather the student information. It will give the outcome information, what it is and what they scored and how many attempts that they had, and what course they were tested on that outcome. And this is one you can configure by terms. You can have all terms or a specific term. You can also have it ordered by users, courses, or outcomes. And you can include deleted things. So if there was something deleted in that term and you wanted to pull it back in, you could do that as well. So this is outcome results. And again, this is based on outcomes that were created at the account or sub-account level. Then there's the provisioning. This is a report that will pull information out of Canvas, so you can configure again by terms. It's a great way to filter your data. Then you would just select which ones you want pulled into that report. Again, you can include deleted objects. So good use. This is often used for courses. If you wanted to bring a deleted course back to life, you could add courses and then include deleted objects and run the report, so that you can get the Canvas ID for that course so you can bring it back to life. So that's one of the ways this is used. And this is based on information in Canvas. We also have the SIS export report that's very similar. This report will pull in stuff based on your SIS. So it could be used as a way to check to make sure SIS came through okay, or just pull this data out based on what you brought in through the SIS. Again, you can sort by term, and it's the same concept here as the provisioning report. But the provisioning is just based on Canvas information, so if it's overlap, but the SIS is based on the SIS data brought into Canvas. So there are a few of the reports, or actually the student competency is the outcome report here. This is the Canvas basic Ruby. So they have a new outcome report there that I forgot they just added. So this student competency report will pull in the outcomes, the account level, like the student information and the course information, as well as the learning outcomes. So that's the reports tab. There's the little question marks here will let you give you an example of what report will have. So the one students with no submissions shows that which students haven't submitted anything. Proactivity, which courses do not have any activity in them. So you can gather some information at the account level. lastly is the app tool, and this is where and I mentioned smart thinking is. So hopefully I'm not making you dizzy by scrolling down too fast. Alphabetical. Yeah, here's the smart thinking, and you would just add the tool. Since this is a tool that you have to pay for, you would need to have a consumer key and secret, and then the URL to launch. So this is where you can add it to your account. You would have to have that access information to be able to add that to the account. There's a lot of them on here that are free, so you can place it here. So there's a lot of different tools that you can bring into Canvas through an API tool. This the redirect tool will allow you to put things in the course navigation as well as the account navigation and the personal navigation. You would just click on Add the Tool, and you would put the link name and the URL that you want it redirected to, and this is where you can check where you want it to show up, in the course navigation, in the user navigation, or the account navigation, and you submit, and then that will place it in whichever navigation you want it to. So that's a great way to add outside URLs to the course navigation on the left. Then you also have the View Installed Apps on the right, and this will show you which apps you have installed and where they're located. So attendance here and design homepage is the course navigation. So this is something that could be unique to your school that you want added to every course. And then if the teachers don't want to use it in their course, they can hide it so it's not being used, but you're giving them the option to show that. And Khan Academy and Twitter are showed in the editor, the rich content editor. So when teachers are creating courses or discussions, or students are submitting or posting using the rich content editor, they'll see those items as well and can use those tools. The apps tool, all of the settings that you can set up in Canvas. Go into sub-accounts, which is in the center in the navigation. And you can set up, this is how you want to structure your course. So you can think of your sub-accounts, your root account. So right here, my root account is mycanvas.instructure.com. And so it's your main account. And everything that you create in Canvas will be through this account here, but you can create sub-accounts. So this is like the dresser. For example, my canvas.instructure.com is like my dresser, and I can create drawers within the dresser to organize my material, and then I can even make little compartments within those drawers, or you can think of it as a filing cabinet, and these are the drawers within the filing cabinet, and these are all the files within the drawers. However you want to think about it, and it's like how you want to organize your course, your account. So this is my root account again. If I wanted to add, like I have the College of Science here, if I want to add to this main level, I can just hit the plus on the right, and it pulls it down to the bottom. So like I could have professional learning here, College of Humanities. So I have the different departments within root. The College of Science here is it's just one level down. Turn this up into a new link. Pull some of these out. So the College of Science here, notice that the navigation on the left is very similar. There's only 3 things that are missing in this navigation. So I'm going to go back to the root account, which is the mycanvas.instructure.com, and you'll see in the navigation on the left I have SIS import, authentications, and terms. These can only be managed at the root account level, at the very top level. They can be managed at the sub-accounts. So if I go into my College of Science, you'll notice in the breadcrumbs in the center, it's got your root account and then the College of Science. Go to Settings in the navigation on the left. Similar to the same setup that I showed you earlier. And I have like where I can turn on Aquila and Turnitin. I can do my branding using JavaScript as well. So I don't have all of the options that I had at the main account level. If I add admins, you'll notice that I don't have any admins in here, so I can click on Account Admins. It'll have a drop-down of those that I created at the account level. I can also go to My Permissions tab, on navigation here, and I could add more roles. So I can, at the sub-account level, I can add additional roles here. And these roles will only be at the College of Science and anything within it. They won't be added to the top level here, the root account. Okay, I go into the department now, so I was in the College of Science, so I'm going to go into the Department of Aerospace here. So you'll notice I have all of those options here again. Add roles to, so if I click my advanced settings and then a min tab, I can add those same roles. So I can say department head to have more options, and it's because these options were added at this level. In my permissions here, I added additional roles to my account roles here. So now I have more options at this level. So at the College of Science, I don't necessarily have department heads, but I have a department head for the Department of Aerospace. So if you notice in the breadcrumbs, you have your root account, mycampus.instructure.com, the College of Science, Department of Aerospace. Campus things trickle down, so you rate things at the highest level that you want to affect every single user you have. You can create things at the different levels. So I could create things at the College of Science, and at the College of Science will affect everybody at the College of Science. Here's the College of Science level. Anything I create at this level will affect all of the departments within this level. And they'll have the Department Aerospace. So things I create at this Department of Aerospace will affect only these items within the Department of Aerospace. So it's trickled down in Canvas. So if you wanted something, if you create something at the Department of Aerospace, like I created those additional roles, I can't transfer those roles to the College of Science or the root account. I would have to go in and also create those at the higher level. Just want to make sure that when you're creating things, you create at the highest level that you want the most people to have access to. And the other thing that these sub-accounts allow you the option to do is have these shared resources. They're great for running reports, for collecting data, to say, for analytics. They're great for shared resources such as outcomes, rubrics, grading schemes, and question banks, because they're only, like this Department of Science probably doesn't care what outcomes the Department of English has, for example. So you could create things that are specific to that sub-account, where at account level, it pulls in the data from all of the departments. And with how many sub-accounts can you create or have? You can create as many sub-accounts that you want to have. So again, you would just go in. If you want it as part of like just one step below your root account, like the College of Science, you click next to the root account. If you create, like I know you have the different locations, you could have it by location. And so then you can hit the plus here, and then pull down the different departments at that location. So there's different options of how you want to set it up. So whatever makes sense for you. And you can also, like within a department, you could create another sub-account within that department as well. And if you change your mind, you can delete them. You just delete them if there's any courses in them. You'd have to move the course to other sub-account before you can delete it. So you can change things later as well. So you just have to think about, what makes sense and what level, and who's the permissions, what type of reports that you want to pull, how you want to organize your account. Any questions about the sub accounts and accounts? Let's go into the terms. Terms are another way that you can organize the data at your account. As I showed earlier with the reports, you can filter your data based on terms. So we just add a new term. By default, you have this default term here, and the term runs from whenever to whenever. So that means that that term is always available. When it's ever to whenever, this is great for professional development courses that never have an end date, so that you can keep going in and taking it and sharing the information. So the term by default is always available. And then you can just click the add new term. We just recommend that you use a naming convention that makes sense to you. Like Summer Institute 2013, it could be like 6-week, and maybe like November 2013 if you have like 6-week courses, or however your courses are set up, with something that distinguishes it from the other terms so you know exactly what that term is referring to. The term runs from, this could be like your catalog start and end dates, so whatever those may be. So I could have a term that starts today and then finishes in December. So that is what correlates with my accounts there. But then this is, I can give students and teachers, TAs, and designers extra access to the course so that students have access during those dates. So maybe I don't want students to start before September 9th, but we allow people to turn in late assignments. So maybe they need access to the course after December 6th so they can turn in things late. So I go in here and say that they have until the 16th. They have 10 extra days. Teacher might need time before the course starts to create the material and to grade, so they need at least what the students have. So I can give them access to the course. And teachers also, at the course level, they can also give additional access to them and their students at the course level as well. But you're just saying when you want that course to run. So there was a question about the concepts term and sub-account differ. The terms are a way to filter data based on the dates. So when you're running reports, you would say, I want reports for fall term, for example. So fall 2013, I want to run those reports for the science department. So the sub-accounts are the departments or the organization, maybe the locations. So if you have various locations, I just want to know how the Chicago group is working out. So I run a report for Chicago for fall term. So I'm only going to get a report that is for fall for Chicago. And then I could run a report for another area for fall, and then I could compare that data and see how the two different are working on that same term. So the sub-accounts are your departments based on location or topics, how you want to set it up that way. And terms are based on dates. So I'll pull dates and filter by date. It says, can we use whenever to whenever when creating terms? You could have where designers, that the default term is there, so you could create courses or courses that are in the term whenever, where you create the master courses, and then they can copy those courses into the courses for specific has teachers and the information. So you could keep master courses in the default term, and then once they're assigned to a teacher and then a term, could copy that course material into that term. That makes sense. Designers would always be able to access the course material. although they would need additional time, but you can always copy from a course that's in a term, and you can also, you just be able to, like with the student data, like you wouldn't be able to submit assignments or post to a discussion or something after the term is over, because once the term is over, the course becomes read-only. So you can still copy the information, but you can't add it or edit to, and post discussions and quizzes and things after. There was like a question was, can be run for a certain date range within a term? It can only be run, I'll have to check on that. To select by term, there might be a way to do that through the API where it's a specific date range within a term. But the way it's set up is that you run a report based on the whole term itself. But you run it at any time, so if you run it like 8 weeks into the semester, it's only going to show those first 8 weeks. Can multiple terms be selected for a report, but not all terms? I believe so, but I'm going to check the report settings to double check that. Yeah, one term, but again, I'll have to check with the API. There might be a way to do that. That's in the API and not in the general setup of Canvas. Writing that down. Okay. Another question, if designers are at a certain admin level, they will have access to courses at all times. Yeah, you could create an account, because their designers are set up in Canvas to be a course level permission, but you could create, I go into my permissions tab and account roles, I create an account role called designers and give them specific permissions. They wouldn't need all of the permissions that an account admin has, but they could be given more permissions, and then they always have access to their courses because they're at a higher level. So that would be a great way for those designers to always have access to the courses. Questions? We'll go into the users courses. So we'll go back up to the top and just kind of work our way down. Courses are listed where you're at. If you're at the root account level, it will have every single course that's in your account listed. If you're at the sub-account, it will show all of the courses at sub-account. So whichever level you're at, it will show all the courses for that level. At the top here, alphabetical, so notice that it says courses in this account. They're all blue, those are published, so courses have to be published for the students to have access to them. So blue, you'll know right off the bat, those are ready to go and the students can have access to them. In gray, they'll be alphabetical, starting over alphabetically, and they're gray, and that shows that this has not been published yet, so students, even if it's ready to go, if it's not published, the students won't have access to that course. So you need to publish those before the students have access to it. And you can either click on the title or where it says home page, and it'll take you to the home page of that course. And you can click the publish button and publish this course. If you want to publish all of your courses at once, you can do that through the API. And I'll show that in a little bit more detail as we go on. That is how you can access the course and publish it. Okay, right-hand side, this will give you some filtering data. So again, the right is kind of where you can edit, find. You can filter by term, so another good reason to have terms set up, so you can pull up and just show the courses for that particular term. So you'll notice that I only have one published course for this term. also find a course by just typing in the name of the course or a user, so it even can be a partial name of the course. You can still find a user on this page. You can add a new course manually, so you have to add a new course and fill in the information. You can add a new user as well and view analytics. So it gives them course details to find things on the right-hand side. Courses in Canvas, so I just opened up a course, and you'll see on the left-hand side you have the course navigation. And if I click on settings on the very bottom, this is where the teachers or anybody can go in, anybody who has access to these, so teachers or admins, can add some of the course details. So they can put a start-end date, a start date and an end date. If they check this box, that's when students and teachers will have access to the course, so they can put in dates here. And so if you didn't put this in at the account level, they can go in here on the individual course level and give their students and themselves more access to the course. So this can also be done, and the dates in here will override the term dates that were set up at the account level. So that information on the course there. Okay, there was a question. So if the dates were already set, lock it so faculty can't change it. I don't believe you can, but I'm going to double check. So I believe it's one thing that's blocked so that faculty can always change. Okay, so the course details. Notice here where it says past enrollments. As I mentioned, when the term date is up, the course goes into a read-only format. So the teachers or the students will see they have the courses that they're currently enrolled in, and their past enrollments as well. So anything that's in read-only, they'll still have access to all the information. They're just not able to submit or grade or anything like that. They can just read it, and they can also copy the information if they want to bring it to the course the next semester. They'll still be able to have access to it that way. In Canvas, the course is where it houses the content sections are what that houses the enrollment. So students are placed, or teachers are enrolled into a section, and the section is connected to the content of the course, which is the course. It's just a terminology thing, but just to remember that consists of the content. So that's what we call the content in Canvas, is the course. So into users, and you'll have a list of all of your users for that entire account. I'm going to switch tabs, and I'm going to go into the users for the Department of Aerospace. So this is all of the users that are connected to the Department of Aerospace. If I go to the College of Science, into the users, this will be all of the users that are in the College of Science. This kind of users, when you add a user to Canvas, they just kind of hang out until you enroll them into a course or assign them as an admin. Otherwise, they just hang out in your account. Right-hand side, this is where you can filter. So again, I can filter by a term, and so I can filter data. I can find a user, so I can in and find a user. So if I type in Brady, it will pull up anyone with the name Brady, so I can easily find people that way. And I can also manually add a new user. So I can put a name. This is can add their display names, their email. So if you're not, if you want to add somebody outside of bringing them in through the SIS, you can do that manually on this page. Upper right, you'll see where you can view user groups. Groups in Canvas are for collaboration. So groups have their own navigation. So I'll go into my own personal account here and show you what a group looks like. You'll notice that this first tab here says courses and groups. Become a member of a group, I have this and groups. Otherwise, you don't see that, only if you're a member of a group. So click on my group, which is in the center. And groups have their own specific navigation. Just you have for your own personal courses have theirs. So the navigation for the group is on the left-hand side, and you'll notice everything has to do with collaboration. They do wiki pages together. They can see all of the people that are in their particular group. They can share files and discussions. They can have conferences like what we're doing right now, except for unless you have an account with Big Blue Button, you can't record. But you can share a whiteboard. You can share your desktop, audio, video. So a great tool. And you can also do like Google Docs or Etherpad to start a collaboration and save that information as well. So again, in Canvas are all about collaboration, and you're able to find those on the upper right-hand side. And create a group, once you click that, you click on Make a New Set of Groups. This will create a tab like I have across the top here. You can see you can have advisory boards, committees, professional development, faculty training, if you have any kind of that needs a committee and collaboration. You can create as many. And this is at the account level, so you don't have to have it tied to a course. You can also create groups at the course level, and the teacher is always able to see what's going on in all the groups in her course or his course. At the account level, they're everybody in your entire account that can be added to it. The question, are groups per class, or do they transcend to class so that groups can continue long after the course is over? That's a good question, because they're connected to the course. And once the course is over and it's in read-only format, I'll have to check. That's a great question, to see if you can still contact your groups out even when the course is over. So check that. That's a great question. Okay, so the question, how do I edit security group membership and make changes? Remove admin access, for example, and then add them to another security group. Talking about permissions, or as like a group like this, where permissions? Okay, so the question was, if you create permission, so I click on the permissions in the left, so it's an account role. So if I added a role called security, so now I have this role. I can go through and say what I want that role to do, and then I can go to my admin settings, click on admins. So, and then add the account admin. So I can go in here with the drop down and say I want them to have the permissions that I set up for security. So that will be that. And then I can just say I'm giving myself those permissions. And then I added this user. So now I should be in here as a security role. Although, so I'm on the top here as that role for security. If I decide that this person is no longer, like maybe quit and I'm no longer there or whatever, I can just hit this X and it will remove me from that role. So I no longer have those permissions. And if I wanted to add them to a sub-account, you could do it the exact same way for sub-accounts. So if I go into my sub-account for the College of Science here, and I go to my settings, and I add that role, You'll see here security again. So I decide I didn't want them to. I didn't want myself to have it. It would be for somebody else. But if I want myself to have this for the whole entire account, I just want it for this sub account. I deleted me from the main account, and now I can add me. So I only have those permissions for this sub account. So add it in there. You would just delete it with X and then re-add it. You can't change it. You just have to delete and re-add. Okay, great. So these groups are for basically collaboration. So you can add user groups. Groups can also be added at the course level, but again, the teacher would be able to oversee what's going on. If in the course level, so if I go into a course here, at level, if the students have the people tab on navigation, so you'll see the third one is people. If the students have that people tab, they can go in and create their own user groups and make a new set of groups. In the account setting, it's done through users, and at the course level, it's done through people. They're set up in a very similar way. Okay, go into a specific person now. So we'll go into Marsha and some things about Marsha here. So be able to see all of this area here is based on the user settings. As an account admin, you can go in and edit some of this information. So you just edit, and you're able to change your name. So if you decide you don't want the users to change the display name, so remember I told you about Margaret and Peggy, you can go in here manually. If you don't allow Peggy to have that, you can go in manually and change that for her. Students can also change their time zone. So if you have online users that are in a different time zone, they can select their time zone, and this will override your account level time zone. So that way, if something's due at 5 o'clock, they don't have to calculate the time difference. If it's 5 o'clock Central and they're in Eastern time zone, they don't have to calculate the time difference. Canvas will do that for them. So you can change that, or they can change this same information for themselves. And it's a big blue button to update the data. The question was, can students create groups above the course level? No, that can only be done by admins. So, and they're at admin level, they're not really monitored like they are at the course level. So as admins, you can create the groups that you want to have set up, but nobody monitors them unless you assign someone to that group who you want them to monitor that group. Okay. You can also, if one of your users puts an inappropriate picture, you can remove the avatar picture. You become Marsha, so if you ever wanted to know what it was like to be Marsha, you can go in and on the right, you can masquerade as her. You'll be in her account as if you were Marsha. So only account level admins, or well, you can assign permissions for others to use this. All account level admins have this access, so this is really helpful for support. So if you do have people that are doing support, although you're welcome to us, so you might not need this, this is really helpful because then you can find out, go to that user and find out exactly what's going on with her account. But you want to limit the ability to do this because whoever goes into Masquerade can check her messages, so they can go into her inbox, they can do her homework for her, turn in assignments, and take quizzes. So you can do everything in Marsha's account as if you were Marsha. So you need to be really careful when you're in Masquerading because it shows up that Marsha did it all herself and not that you were in there masquerading as her. So once you go in here and you find out what's going on with her account, you can, on the bottom, you'll see the big blue button where it says Stop Masquerading. I was on her dashboard, so it takes me back to my account on my dashboard. And so I just need to go back into my users. And I click Marsha again. So now I scroll down a little bit here to show you her pages. I'll see that today on September 9th, Marsha was in Canvas, but that was actually me masquerading as Marsha. So that I just wanted to show you that you need to be careful because it looks as if she was in there herself masquerading. I mean, like herself doing her own account. So it shows up on her page view as if it was her actually in Canvas. Back to the users, I click on myself and I scroll down. Show, I was in here as well, but it doesn't say, sometimes it says masquerades, but this time it does not. So you can't always tell from this, but if you ever suspect anyone was abusing their masquerade privileges, we can look up and see exactly who was masquerading and when. So we can get that information for you if you ever do need to find that out. Some other things about the user that you can do. When a pencil, that means you can edit the login information of Marsha. I can also scroll down and see all of the courses that she's in and all of the groups that she belongs to. So you can see exactly how busy she is. So the user information for Marsha and users in general. If you have questions about the users, go into the next tab, which is statistics. The statistics will show you who recently logged in. Computer's going a little slow. Who recently started courses, logged in, or ended courses. You get the bulk of your data from View Analytics on the right-hand side. You can also get the analytics from the courses page. This will show you how many courses you have, how many teachers, students, assignments. You'll notice again on the upper right, you have a drop-down for term. So you can look at this data for each term. So as I go through terms, you can see how the data changes. When you see the blue, those are how many page views that you have your count overall, and how many participations. Participations are anytime someone turns in an assignment or participates in a discussion or takes a quiz. So those are participations. You can also see the activity by your course. General and other are like the dashboard and generic areas. But the stuff here is like quizzes, assignments, discussions. So this is a great way to see how your users are actually using Canvas. And you see that conferences and collaborations are very low. So maybe that's something that your teachers need more, they need to know about. Maybe they're not using them because they don't understand them. They're not aware, they're not really sure what they do. Or they could also be that they're not interested in them. Maybe they don't want to use them. So it's a great way to see how your teachers are using Canvas, and maybe like show you what areas, if there's stuff you want them to do but they're not, then you can kind of let them know, educate them, let them know that it's there. So it's just a great way to see what's going on and how people are using Canvas at your account overall. And also see the grades on that term. So pull up that data as well. This course analytics is also at the course level. So once you have student data in a course, on the home page of that course, you can view the analytics for a particular course. Again, you can see the assignments and the grades. Information, don't have any students in this course. But this is a great way, and you can also drill down to the students and see analytics for a particular student. So analytics on all the levels. That's great resources for you to find what's going on in your account. Okay, I'm going to drop down to the SIS import. navigation, so it's just 4 up from the bottom. SIS import, when you'll see for a description to generate these files, please see this documentation. That hyperlinks out to the page where you can see how to set up if you want to bring things in through a batch mode and import data. So you can bring in users, so you're required to have a unique user ID and a unique login ID and status. Are they active or deleted? So those are required fields. You'd probably want to have their first name and last name as well. And then you would just create it in an Excel spreadsheet, for example, and then export it as a CSV file. And this is an example of what it would look like. You would have each column with that data. You can your accounts and sub-accounts this way. So instead of going in and adding them like I did manually, you could bring them in bulk and set them up. So you would have your account ID, what the parent ID is, the name and the status. So again, here's an example. So they're importing in this example humanities, English, and Spanish. So you bring that data in as well. You can bring in the term, so the term ID, the name and the status. So again, here's the term ID. That would be like SIS ID. The name of the term, so we have winter 2011, spring 2011, fall 2011, and whether it's active or deleted. So if you can also delete files using the CSV. And you can put the start and end date in here if you want to as well. Bring in courses, and your sections. By default, every course has a section, but you can also create sections too. So not just a default section, but you can actually actively create a section. And then enrollments are how you're going to enroll students into that section. So you have your enrollments. And you also create groups here too. So it will give you the data for the group. So if you wanted to create some account level groups, maybe some kind of committees that you have set up, and that way you don't have to search through, because remember, at the account level, all of your students will appear. So it gets to be a really, really long list. So if I go back into my Canvas here, go to my users, and view your groups, and make a new set of groups. Actually, I'll just go here and show you. The unassigned, I have 546 students here. So that's a lot of students to sift through, and you'll see how many pages there are. It just keeps on. So if you want to create through the SIS, you don't have to sift through the students there, because you would just take them and drag them into the group once you create them. You can drag them in. But if you create it through the SIS import, you can just type in the names of your users, and then that way they're added to those groups automatically. As like courses that have the exact same content and the same teacher, you can cross-list the sections. So maybe they have different sections, like one is taught in one department, and it's the exact same course that's taught in another department, but it's the same teacher and the same content. You can cross-list the sections so that in one of those courses, and they have the same teacher and the same content. So you can cross-list sections if you want to do that. So this here is all that CSV information. On the left-hand side, this is the API. So this account report here, so someone had asked the question about running reports that aren't specific to a term, and would be in this area. I don't know API very much, but Kevin can help you with this too. So if it was here, I'll double check though with him to find out. But this is the API. So on the left-hand side, it will show you the API information that you need to pull data in. That's a little bit more techy than doing it the general way. So on the left-hand side, you'll find different areas. You can go to the Courses tab. Down a little bit. The Courses tab here. You can also all of your courses published through the API over here as well. Okay, so if you decide that you want to bring in a batch, so usually this is an incremental change if you want to bring in stuff outside of the SIS. You would create your CSV files, and what you can do is you can create all those reports, and here I'll open up my example here. I have a report for accounts, for courses, enrollments, sections. So I have these 5 reports here, and I have them in a zip file on my desktop here. And I can just browse and pull in that CSV, all of those reports. I can browse it on my desktop. So I can open it. So on this report, if it's a full batch update, you again select the term. Usually it's an incremental change, but if you want what you have in the zip file to override the courses and enrollments that you have in your production site, you could do and have it be a full batch update route, but remember it's going to override stuff, and if it's not in the report, it will be removed. So you have to be careful with this full batch update. You can also override UI changes, and what this is this, for example, like with Peggy's name, when I manually went in, or she manually went in and changed her name from Margaret to Peggy, that becomes sticky. So because views that when you manually go in and do something, that's more important than what is in the SIS import. So it becomes sticky. You can override those changes so that they're not considered sticky anymore, and what you're bringing in is what you want to stick. And then process what you're bringing in as a UI change, or you can clear UI state. So you have a couple of options there. You can't do both of these. So those are some options that when you bring it in through a CSV file that you can do. And then you process the data. At this point, it'll probably make more sense, and we can help you out when you get to this point. You can process the data. It will show you any errors. It said all of mine were brought in successfully, but if you have any errors, those will show up. And it'll show up how many accounts you brought in, terms, courses. And you could just do this with groups, so like account level groups. If you only wanted to bring in account level groups this way, you could do it that way. If you just wanted to bring in your sub-accounts this way, or your terms, you could do it too. So you have some options of how you want to process that data. Okay, so that's the SIS, and Kevin can also help you with this in a lot more detail if you decide you want to go this route. You don't have, it's just it's there for your convenience. Authentication, I believe using LDAP. This is where you send the information to the app, and again, this is something Kevin can help walk you through when you get to this point. At the bottom, or next to the very bottom, we have some admin tools. Earlier, when I said you could run that report and find deleted courses, you can put that course ID in here that you once you run that report and you include deleted ones, when you find the Canvas number, you can pull in and you can restore the course. So this is the area where you can bring courses back to life. You view notifications and login activity. So there's some new reports. This eventually will have more tabs as we go on. If you have any of your teachers that take attendance, we do have an attendance report. This can be added at the account level, and then it will show up in every course, so teachers can hide it if they don't want to take attendance. But this is something you can add to your account if you do have any teachers that take attendance, and then you can run reports on that as well. We have 4 shared resources, and those outcomes, rubrics, grading schemes, and question banks in the middle. Outcomes are basically to test mastery. So you can go in. It's best to do this at the account or sub-account level because then you can run reports. Teachers can also create them at the course level, but it's within the course and you can't run reports. So it's best to do it at the account or sub-account level. You would add a new outcome, and like for different departments or you can add these at different areas. So you would just name what the account is, what the criteria is, what you want to measure for description, and then criteria. And you have it defaulted to exceeds expectations, meets, and not meets. There's a little pencil here where you can edit, so you can change the wording or the point value of how you want it. If you want to have more columns, you would just click the insert, and it will add additional columns as well. And so it shows mastery at 3. Again, that is something you can edit. And then blue button, just save, and then that will be there for all of your teachers to pull from if you created this at an account level. So you can see I have a lot of outcomes here at the account level. So then, you can also add a group. The group will create these folders. So you could create folders of outcomes. So you could have them for each department. That way, you can create it at the highest level at your root account level, and then the people would just go into that folder to get the outcome that they need as well. Outcomes are related to rubrics. So you add them to a rubric to use them, and you can either get to the rubrics in the left navigation or the upper right. We have a lot of account rubrics here. On the right-hand side, remember the right is usually where you edit and find and add things. So I'm going to add a rubric. New one always goes to the bottom. And so I go in here and I can type in, we'll type in TCS rubric. And the rubrics are set up a little bit differently. You put in the criteria. Again, when you hover, you'll see a pencil. So sometimes you have to hover to see the editing tool. So here, and you can see the pencil, so you can edit the criteria. This is what they need to do to accomplish that assignment. So it could be, it has to be 5 pages, or a certain, you're looking for certain grammars or certain APA format or whatever it might be. You could put that in there for the criteria. Change the rating. So if you didn't want full marks or no marks, you could put those exceeds expectation, meets expectation, does not meet if you want. It's so different because you have to hover over the line you want to add. It goes from 0 to 5 points, but if I click on the line in the middle, it will automatically put 3 points in here. And then I can put, the pencil and edit that as well. So hover over, when you see the double arrow, you click on that and you can add a new column. This is also where I can find the outcomes. So I'll see this little magnifying glass, and I'll find the account level outcomes that were set up. So I can go in here, and a lot of these are K-12, but this one's APA formatting. So I can import this APA formatting to my rubric. So now notice I have a criteria here and have an outcome that they have to master. Go ahead and create the rubric. Okay. This rubric is available for the teachers to use in their courses. So if I go into a course, so I'll open up this Intro to Canvas on the top, and I can go to assignment, whether I created at this time or I've already created it. I can go into an assignment or go into, but you'll see this add a rubric. I can add the rubric. On the right-hand side, you'll see find a rubric at the bottom here on the right. Let me move this up a little bit. I'll click find a rubric, and pull up all my account level rubrics. That rubric I just created. So I created it at the account level, but now it's here for me at the course level. I can just click on it, use this rubric, and added that rubric in. So as a teacher, I don't have to recreate this rubric every time. I can just find it and pull it, and now it has this little pencil on the upper right that I can edit it. So I can edit the criteria. So you'll see as I hover over, it has a pencil. So I can edit, I can add criteria here if I want, so I can make the rubric longer. But notice when it has this little yellow tab, like this APA formatting, it doesn't have the ability to edit those. So when you create the outcomes at the account level, we don't want teachers editing those because you're going to run reports on them. So you want those exactly the same for every teacher that uses that outcome. So they can't edit those scores at all. they can edit the criteria, so maybe they only want 3 pages instead of 5 pages. So they can edit the other criteria, but they cannot edit outcomes. That way, when you run the reports, it's consistent for all the teachers that are using that outcome. So the question, if you edit the rubric at the account level, will it change in all the classes that are using it? Once they go in and select it, when they pull it in the next time, it will be the new way, but if you edit it, it won't change what they've already pulled in. It will only change for those that are going to pull it in the next time. Can we have outcomes from students? They're in, I don't believe you can, because if they're in the report, they will show up for the students. I'll double check on that one as well. Okay, so yeah, teachers won't be able to answer those, and you can't run a report on the rubrics. You run them on the outcomes. So the outcomes is where you get the data that you want to have for the students. I can go ahead as a teacher and I can update that rubric. When the students are taking the assignment, they'll see any kind of details at the top, if there were details in here. They'll see when it's due, how much it's worth, and then they'll see this rubric so they know exactly what they're being graded on. They know what they have to do to achieve. Okay, a shared resource that we have are grading schemes. By default, the grading scheme is the Canvas grading scheme. Whoops. It's standard A minus, B plus. So I'll go into the grading schemes in the left navigation. So at the account level, if you have where courses that teach credit, no credit, complete and incomplete, maybe they don't use A, B, pluses and minuses. If you have a unique grading scheme that all of your teachers are using, you can create those at the account level or sub-account level, so it could go department level or location level, however you want to divide it up. You can add those grading schemes, but you want to create it at the highest level that users are going to be pulling from it. And on the right-hand side, add a grading scheme. It pulls up the Canvas default grading scheme. Where on the left where it has A, you can just reach over it and name it whatever you want, and you can change the percentages on the right. And that way it automatically changes the next column percentage mark, so you can have it be a different rating score. And you can also hit the X to remove the items as well. So it's really easy to hit, and then blue button to save, and it will save all those. So again, if I go into a particular course, I can go to a course at the account level, so that same course. Go into settings. So now I'm a teacher, and this is my course. I go and I edit my settings for that course, so edit course details. You'll note at the bottom, let me scroll this up a little bit. Now it's in the center, the grading scheme. If I enable this grading scheme, I can set grading scheme. It pulls up the Canvas defaults, but if I don't want to use this, I can edit it with the pencil or magnifying glass to find. And so that pulls up the different grading schemes that are created at the account level, so I can select which one I want to use for my course. So I have options. So if you want to create at the account level what your teachers might be wanting to use. And is the question banks. So question banks, if you have a test that you want all of your users to use, either at the account level or sub-account level, whatever level it might be, you could add a question bank. So you click upright question bank, name it, then you click on the title. I'll just pull up these. So I click on the title and I can see the question bank and add a question bank on the upper right. Have your standard multiple choice, true, false. So you have a lot of different question options here that you can create. At the account level, though, you have to manually add the questions one by one. You can't import questions. So that is the downfall to adding it at the account level. At the course level, if you have publisher content, you can import it in through a QTS, but can't at the account level. So workaround you could possibly do would be if you did a master course, you could bring in question banks in bulk and then add all the teachers that teach that, and they can pull from those questions, bring those question banks into a particular course and share it that way. But it's great to have it here if you can. It just takes some time because you have to manually enter that data. The question banks on the left-hand side. Those are the 4 shared resources: outcomes, rubrics, grading themes, and question banks. So they're great to add at the account or sub-account level so that teachers don't have to go into each, every time they teach a course, don't have to pull it in each time. That way they can just, it's created for them and they can pull it in and then they can edit it. Questions on any of the shared resources? We've covered everything. We have about 10 minutes or so left. If you have any questions about anything that we've covered or anything that you would like me to show again, I'd be happy to go over anything or expand on anything if anyone has any questions. I know a lot of information, but hopefully it's a good overview so you can kind of start thinking about how you want to set things up and organize your account. I have the video out this afternoon, so you'll also have a link to the video, and you can download it at any time. And we do have, if you go into the help, either to help, you can go to guides.instructure.com or help.instructure.com. The video tutorials, there are some admin videos that go over accounts and sub-accounts and a lot of things that we've gone over today. They're short, so they're like 3-minute videos as well. So if there is something that you just want to view, just the topic, feel free to go in that video, and they're great resources to see in a snippet of what we've been over. Well, thanks, everyone, and I'll stick on for a little longer too. If anyone has any questions, I'll hang out for a bit until everyone's. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, feel free to let me know. And that video and some of the questions that you guys asked that I wasn't able to answer, I'll get those sent out as well. Question, does the SIS integration through the API still work with sub-accounts? Let's go in and check. If you do it, it works through the sub account. Let's see if I go to this documentation. So you have the account CSV. This is the sub account. So go through here. This is what's required to add those sub accounts. So you can add sub accounts this way. Parent account is your root account. So when you import it in, you're really just adding the sub account ID. API, there's a left-hand side here. And I have looked at the sub account information on here. Is the accounts just using the general or through the API over here on the left? And I'll ask Kevin about that as well, because he's much worse than the API. I don't really know the API yet. If we create a sub-account for different schools, would we need to include the account ID? Sending enrollments through the API. I'll have to double check on that with Kevin and find out for sure. You need, your different schools will probably be different sub-accounts. So you'll want to have those IDs. You'll have it where you're sending the students to which courses via the sub-account. So you'll definitely need to have sub-accounts play out before you add the enrollments. You'll have to check about the API, how that works with the API. And a lot of that, if you're importing it through the campus view, I guess it is, the SS, that's going to probably happen automatically, I believe. So I'll have to check with checking that for you. So that's a question. I don't really have a good answer on that. So. That's something good to know up front. So I'll get an answer for you for you today. So so we can address that while you're planning it out. You're welcome. Any questions from anyone left on the line? Be happy to answer.